Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week. And this is the show where I go to my least favorite to best pick of the week. And this week I had a relatively short haul, only 8 books, which is very short for me. That's like less than half of what I usually get. Hopefully next week I'll be back to my normal number. But I have to say, I relatively enjoyed all my comics this week, even with the smaller haul. A lot of my favorites came out. So luckily for this week. So moving on to my least favorite this week. And that is Action Comics issue 1011. Love this cover, and honestly not like a bad issue. Just not really feeling this new arc, even though I was really excited for it. I like the idea of the arc and kind of getting into the heads of our heroes, and I'm going to pick up the event stuff, but it's a slow burn for me, as always, with Bendis' writing in DC Comics this past, 2 years now, or year. It's kind of been slow, and I just don't feel as invested to this story. And there's small character quirks I just don't really like here. Like, even Lois typing her story, and she just can't spell things, which I know is a joke, and it's supposed to be played off. Like, even when you're a writer, you're just like, oh, how do you spell that thing, you know? But I'm like, Lois knows how to spell, you know? It was just kind of a weird line that she's done multiple times in this series. And I really just don't like Jimmy in this book. I just feel like they play him up as really stupid. Like, literally, Lois and Superman are hugging each other and having these like, heart-to-heart conversations right in front of him, and he's still clueless. And I know, again, that's kind of part of his aesthetic of his character, but I believe Jimmy is not that stupid. So it kind of continues in this issue. But stuff I really liked with this, obviously, is the artwork. I think the artwork for all the Bendis books have been really great. I've enjoyed that, and you definitely get the espionage feel to this book. Very clean artwork, but kind of a darker coloring and color palette here. But the thing I really enjoyed was seeing some characters we haven't seen in a while, like Guardian appears in this issue, but also Manhunter, and I'm a huge fan of her character, and I think Bendis could really write her character well, because she's, you know, kind of snarky. She's a hero, but she's also a lawyer, and I liked how they played her character up, and I thought that was a really good opening, but then the rest of it I didn't love. So overall, I'm going to give this 3 stars. I do think this, I guess, event has potential, but I just wasn't really feeling this issue out of all the rest of the books I read. But like I said, 3 stars, not a bad book, and for least favorite, and only 8 books coming out. Alright, let's move on to number 7, which is the Avant-Guards, issue 5. So, my store didn't have this issue. Hopefully, next time they will. And I'll probably get, you know, a special order for issue 5. But I read this one digitally, and it's a solid book. I like it. It's a lot of fun. And if you're a High Five Fight Club fan, Chris actually shows up as a cameo appearance in the issue. So that was pretty cool. And it's nice that we're getting a different point of view of each character from the team, so we really get to understand their personalities and their lives. There is some romantic drama that I don't think necessarily needed to happen here, especially between our 2 main characters, Charlie and Olivia. They're like, we should go out. We shouldn't go out. We should go out. Let's hide it from everybody. So I don't really get the drama there, and I think it's just kind of was written that way to cause drama. But yeah, I didn't really love that interaction as much, but I do like their relationship. And artwork is fun for the book. And overall, like I said, just a fun slice of life book. So overall, I'm going to give that 3.5 stars, and that is number 7. Moving on to number 6, this is a bit higher than it has been, and that is Detective Comics issue 1004. Overall, enjoyed this issue. It's a bit of an exposition issue. Well, I won't even say bit. It's pretty much all of an exposition issue. But I liked the story that was being told of how Arkham Knight became who she is. We get to learn her origin story, which is kind of interesting. I would say not just kind of. It was really interesting. And the part that brings us down, actually, is the present version of her. I don't think it's as interesting as her backstory. Like, when she's talking in the present, I'm like, you have so much potential as a character. But I like your backstory a lot more, but just the dialogue that she has with the army could be a bit more interesting. But I like the artwork overall. I will say that I think that Batman's and Robin's artwork wasn't as strong as the exposition artwork. But overall, really solid art here. So I'm gonna give this 3.5 stars. I think it was a better story. I like that we get to know our villain a little bit more here in her story. And like I said, it was an intriguing story, and how she views Gotham and Batman, I felt was different, and you kind of understand why she's doing the things she's doing. All right, moving on to number 5, which is Batgirl, issue 35, which I thought was a very solid issue. This is the penultimate issue of this creative team, and then we're going to be moving on to the next. There's so much promotions for Leviathan in the back here. But yeah, I enjoyed the action a lot here, honestly. I love Batgirl just beating up this shark, even this like super charged up shark, and she's able to kind of figure out with her head, with her mind, how to defeat this guy. And as this is going on, we have Alyssa dealing with the Gordon Clean program, I think that's what it's called, Gordon Cleanup, whatever, their business, and it's not going well, and Alyssa has to make a decision of, hey, do I betray my friend, that way this company survives and, you know, people don't get laid off, or do I, you know, tell Barbara, hey, you can't be part of this company anymore. So that's all happening as Barbara's trying to defeat these animal people. So I thought it was a really solid issue. Again, good action, some good drama here. We even get to see that detective character trying to figure out his feelings and relationship with Barbara. Is like, are we an acquaintance? Why am I, you know, handling her furniture right now? So there's some fun side stories as well here. So also artwork is really solid for this book, which makes the action even better. So if you're looking for an action-packed issue, go pick up Batgirl. I thought it was pretty solid, giving that 4 stars, and that is number 5. Moving on to number 4, and number 4 for me this week is Unstoppable Wasp, issue 8, which was another very solid book. I love the artwork. It's a lot of fun, all ages style, but you get a lot of good personality throughout, some good action as well, even when Bobby and Winter Soldier are going into the Red Room. I love those scenes. And like I said, I like the personality. I like the design for each character here, Janet and the other girls as well, and how their personalities are really written on what clothes they wear and all that, which is good because, you know, Janet is a fashion designer, so you want that for a Wasp type book. But yeah, I thought the science stuff was a really interesting concept of, yeah, you know, sometimes we don't see science as a good thing, and Nadia's trying to share the good side of science as we get to see kind of the bad side of things going on with some villains coming into the storyline, where they tricked Nadia thinking that she was talking to her mom, but she wasn't, and we have all these girl villains in the end of the issue trapping our heroes by the end. So there's a lot of trapping going on in this one, and it was a lot of fun. I will say when they're showing the experiments, I feel like that was the slower part of the issue, which is why it wasn't as high as it usually is. But like I said, I had a lot of fun with this one. I'm going to be sad when it's over, but really excited for Jeremy Whitley to move on to Future Foundation because I'm a huge Power Pack fan, and it looks like they're going to be highlighting those characters a lot. So very excited for that. So the Unstoppable Wasp issue 8 gets 4 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3. And that is The Legend of Korra, Ruins of the Empire Part 1, which I did an in-depth review on, so I won't go too much into detail here, but I enjoyed this one. I think this is the best Legend of Korra graphic novel so far. I did like Turf Wars, but, you know, we had new characters, different conflict, and the artwork wasn't as strong for me there, but here we get to see the art a bit similar to the cartoon, which I liked. Definitely more in that style and a bit more cartoonier, which I enjoyed. I thought the line work was a little bit thicker, and I would even say the expressions were a bit better here as well. So definitely enjoyed the art. And then we go back to a character that we know and love, or, you know, love as a villain, and that's Kuvira, and we get to see the political aspects of her journey. So there's a lot of build up here and a lot of great political story, which is what Legend of Korra is known for, but also some great character interactions between Korra and Asami, where, you know, they're in a good place in their relationship, but now they might disagree on something, and how's that going to affect their relationship on this big note of Kuvira. So overall, I'm going to give this one 4 stars. If you want more thoughts on that, definitely go check out my in-depth review. And that was number 3. Moving on to number 2, which is Dial H for Hero, issue 3. Love this cover, too. At first, I didn't really get the V thing, so I was like, Dial H for Vera? What? But then you have the 4 villain there. But I do like the cover. And the artwork is some of the best art we're seeing here, just because of how fluid it is, how different each page can be as we get to see different heroes and different villains get the dial. Like, this felt like a Vertigo, even Young Animals style book, and then you have this kind of punk rock character pop up with her. Let me see if I can find it. So it just all changes, and it's just so cool. From the coloring to the art is just so creative. So I love the artwork here, and you have to applaud the art. It's just so good. And then the story was really good for this one as well, where we get to learn a bit more about Summer and why she actually does want to leave. And I think something that was so profound is that throughout the issue, we get to see her narrate to nobody. She's like, oh, if you want to read this, and then you kind of figure out she wants to kind of talk to her mom and says, hey, I don't like you. I love, let me see if I can get the note of what she said to her mom, because that was just such a good line. It's like, oh, dear mom, I don't miss you. I was like, you know, most of these type of stories would be like, oh, I'm so nostalgic for my past. Why did I do that? And just like, no, my past sucked, and I want to, like, have a better present. So I really loved Summer's character here, as she does get the dial as well. Really, really good issue, and I've been really enjoying this. Honestly, the Wonder Comics stuff is probably what I've been enjoying the most from DC Comics most recently, especially like Dial H and Naomi. I think have been really, really solid books. So, giving Dial H for Hero issue 3 4.5 stars, and that is number 2. Moving on to number 1, which is Runaways, issue 21. I love this issue. Even though it's kind of a quieter issue, I think there's some really good character beats. First of all, we go to Chase, right? Chase is shopping for maxi pads in this, like, Walmart. And I think it's because he's thinking, all right, Molly's sad because she's going to get her period. So he's trying to help her out. And he ends up kind of interacting with this store clerk, and she's kind of flirting with him, and he doesn't notice, and there's some really funny back and forth between them. And then, you know, she asks him on a date, and he says, no, I have a girlfriend. Chase believes he's still dating Gert, even after everything that's been going on, which is really interesting. I thought that was a really interesting beat. And then, by the end of the issue, we get to see Victor's fine, and somehow has his body, and is making out with Gert. So, what happened there? I'm guessing next issue we're going to learn what happened. And then, another really good moment, well, going back to Chase, because Chase had a really good story here. And Chase and Molly, man, that scene was so good, where Molly just, first of all, she never really had the chance to run away, so I think this is her chance to say, hey, I want to figure out myself. And she's upset that things have been lost because they had to run away. She doesn't have her parents. She doesn't have her grandparents. People have died. And then Chase promises Molly, saying, I will never leave. I never did leave you. And it's just this really cute moment between the two and their relationship that I loved. And also a really good character study with Molly, where Molly realizes, hey, I don't have to be the peppy girl all the time. Even though that's kind of how I'm defined as a person, I don't always have to be that. I could be sad. And Chase is allowing me to do that. You know, I have somebody to confide to. So I love that moment. I thought that was really good. And then, even though this was shorter, I thought some really strong beats was with Carolina, where she's dealing with a lot of stuff, where she's like, I'm happy, but I'm really anxious and I don't know why. And I felt like that was such a real moment, you know, especially if you've ever dealt with anxiety. Her going to her therapist and saying, I shouldn't feel this way, but I do. Why do I feel anxious? And Carolina just not believing that she's a good person. And then I love the scene where she's walking home and she keeps saying that, I'm a good person, because she doesn't believe she is. And then this kid almost gets hit by a car and she automatically saves them, because she is a good person. She is a hero. But also, did Carolina do something in this kind of time gap? We don't know. Because she keeps saying, you know, there's things that I feel like I've done, but I don't know if I've done them, so I'm curious about that story too, if that's going to go anywhere. And the artwork is just so good, so expressive, from, you know, the jokes that they play to the emotional beats in this issue. Really, really good stuff here. This is Runaways at its best. And again, even though this is somewhat of a silent issue, and not silent that there's no dialogue, but, you know, there's not a huge plot going on, but it's more character driven, which is where Runaways really shines. And honestly, not all the characters were shown, and that was okay. You know, Nico only had a couple of panels, and so did Gert, but the moments that they did, you know, shine with Molly, Chase, and Carolina were really strong, and I'm glad they did that. So overall, I'm going to give this 4.5 stars. That was my pick of the week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Definitely go follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Go check out my comics like Father Like Daughter and They Call Her the Dancer. And every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time is Frontline Live, where we discuss our favorite comics and comic book news. So be sure to check that out, and let me know in the comments below what were your least favorite comics and your favorite comics from this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Bye.